This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The Oba of Benin, Omo N'Oba N'Edo Akpolokpolo, Oba Ewuare II, has received two artifacts looted years ago from the Bini kingdom. The artifacts, a wooden bowl, a wooden and bronze stool, were returned by the government of Germany to Nigeria in 2022 and were in custody of the federal government. It was returned to the palace of the Oba of Benin by Olubile Holloway, the Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. Joining us this morning to speak on the significance of this return is a cultural historian at the University of Abuja, Professor Ronti Ojo. Professor Ojo, good morning and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
Right, sir. To begin with, what is your reaction to the news of the return of these artifacts that were stolen in 1897 during the invasion of the Bini Kingdom?
Well, to start with, I am so excited with the return of all these artifacts. And I believe and I hope sincerely that money will still come in. Because in 1897, when there was this invasion on Bini Kingdom, more than 2,000 artifacts, objects, were captured away or stolen and from Bini Empire during this period. So by the time all these artifacts have started trickling in their 10s, in their 20s, as a historian, as a cultural historian, I'm so happy and so excited. And my prayer is that all these artifacts that were stolen and were captured away in 1897 should return back to Nigeria. Because it is very important and very significant in this modern and technological age in which we are in Nigeria.
Professor, there have been some criticisms that the pace of return is too slow. So we're talking about hundreds of artifacts that were looted, and yet when we hear of returns, it's in trickles, just like you noted, and in this case, we're talking about only two artifacts. Do you support this criticism?
Sure. I support that. The return is too slow. But it is not easy. It's more than 100 years ago. And you can't expect it to come just at once like that. But I think it's a right step in the right direction. Okay? A journey of 1,000 miles will have to start with one step. I think the return is very significant, is very important. So it's not only from Germany. Most of these artifacts are also in places like United Kingdom, United States, even in Canada and in Belgium, in Sweden. So by the time the German government needs fit to bring all these things in their 10s, in their 15s, in their 20s to Nigeria, I think other countries in Europe and in the Western world should also take a cue from that. It is too slow, but at least it has started, and I believe it will go on like that.
Professor, when these artifacts were returned to the Oba of Benin, there was a lot of joy in the palace of the Oba. Can you speak to us about the significance of these two artifacts that were returned?
Okay, you're talking about the recent ones?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very significant. And very significant. The return of these artifacts means a kind of reconnection with the past. My people perish for lack of history. Now, the history of the people is returning gradually to the people. You see, the return of these artifacts means a lot to the people of Bini Kingdom, to the people of Nigeria, to the people of West Africa, and to the people of Africa. You see, artifact is a form of communication. Artifact is a form of beautification. Artifact is to show identity. Artifact is to demonstrate wealth of the people. Africa demonstrates the documentation of history in a particular community. The artifact is a pride of the society. And most importantly, the artifacts that were returned connects the present with the past. If there has been a particular lacuna, a particular gap all these years, because when we teach students, we tell them about these artifacts, but in abstract. Okay, so the return, all the students and the public will see what our forefathers did, the technological advancement of our forefathers in the past, and then we can take it up from there. You are aware, sir, that Africa was more modernized in the past even than Europe. And these artifacts are the ones to showcase and to demonstrate the development and the technological advancement of the people in the past. So when these things were carried away, were looted away, just like correctly said, then that created a big gap in Nigeria, in West Africa, amongst the people, the black people of Africa. So the return is to fill that gap that has been created by the exit of all these artifacts in West Africa, in Africa.
Professor, you've spoken to us about, the slow trickle of these artifacts coming back home. But
Yes.
Is there anything that I guess Nigeria as a nation can do now to speed up the return of these artifacts? Because as you've pointed out, there are hundreds of them scattered across the world, but we are only seeing
More than 1,000.
more than 1,000. So we're only seeing them come back in small bits and pieces. And to be honest, for the Bini people, this is a joyous occasion, but we haven't seen the return of some of the more significant Benin artifacts, which, as we know, are held in in a museum in the United Kingdom.
We are still expecting more. Like I said, it has to start from somewhere. You remember MK Abiola sometimes about his struggle for reparation of most of these artifacts, most especially the mask that was used for Festac 77. The original mask is still there. So people, when all these things started coming, people were expecting the bigger one. It has to start from the smaller objects or artifacts, as we call it, okay, before the bigger ones. You see, they always say that the big masquerade come out last. Okay, now it has started. Although very small pace, very slow pace, but then we need to appreciate the Europeans for taking the bull on the horn on the how did they normally put it?
The bull by the horn.
The bull by the horn, for taking the step at least. It has started, though very slow, but it will get there very soon. We'll get there one day. The federal government can also make intensification. They can also intensify. Let them remind those European countries, the Western world, that all these things belongs to us. Okay? Right. Let them intensify efforts. Let the government continue to write and to remind that these things belongs to us, and it is our history. It is not theirs. They don't even know they don't know the idea. They don't have the history behind all these artifacts. The artifacts cannot speak on their own. The objects cannot speak on their own. We are the ones that understand the language of all these artifacts. So by keeping it there, okay, they are underutilizing those objects over there. So let them return them back home to us, and let us put life into those artifacts.
Professor, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation this morning. Our guest, Professor Ronti Ojo, is a cultural historian at the University of Abuja, and he joined us this morning to speak on the return of two artifacts that were looted from the Benin Kingdom looted from the Benin Kingdom during the invasion of Benin in 1897. They were returned to Nigeria by the German government, and they have been delivered to the palace of the Oba of Benin. The conversations continue on Now Breakfast. We ask, as always, that you stay with us.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.